Happy to
Yeah.
help you out.
Well, see, I don't know how we got 22 people on to get introductions. I'm not sure. Do you have a recommendation on the quickest way to go through that? I hate to hand it off. We could. It's a new year. So, but
Yeah, it's a new year and we do have some new folks. But if, either you could just read through the names, or I'd be happy to assist with that and
let me
read through the names and ask for introductions for new people who haven't joined recently.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. So I'm going to read through the names, folks that I know here. So I'm Ken Eichstead, City of Petaluma, and from SCTA, we have Dana Turry and Drew Nichols, and Adam Garcia, and the Chris Barney, and I think that's all SCTA. Is that okay? And then I'm just looking at the list here, and so Kurt Bates, Healdsburg, Emily Betts, Smart, and then I'm going to go drop down here, and we've got John J, City of Sebastopol, JP Harris, City of Katati, Mona Ibrahim, Town of Windsor, Suzanne Smith, that's SCTA. Thank you very much for joining. Tanya Narth with RCPA, and also from Smart, we've got Zoe Unruh. So I'm going to start at the top, and if the others could, who I didn't call, could introduce themselves, I'd appreciate it. And I see Alexandra Osiagara. We'll start there.
It's Alexander Oseguera.
Oseguera, thank you.
Yeah, City of Santa Rosa, active transportation planner.
Good. Chris Gunther.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually just a community member in Santa Rosa. I wasn't sure whether it was kosher for me to show up at this meeting, but I did find the agenda online, and Emily from the Bike Coalition and I have been corresponding about this meeting. So I hope it's okay for me to listen in, but I don't represent a city directly, or the county, so wouldn't be speaking from that perspective.
Okay, well, welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. And we've got, Elizabeth Tyree with the open space, right, Elizabeth?
Sonoma County Regional Parks Department.
Sorry, Sonoma County
Thanks,
Regional
Ken.
Parks. Thank you very much. Edie Takata. Sorry, I didn't get you. Roner Park there.
East Cutter, Motor Park, Public Works.
Doing a lot of great things down there too. So I'm always impressed. From Caltrans, we've got Greg Curry, and I don't know if there's anybody else from Caltrans. I thought there was one other person.
Hi,
This
is Orlando, Caltrans District 4.
Okay. And what is your role at Caltrans?
I'm
Orlando?
a transportation planner in the Office of Multimodal System Planning. I'm also serving as the contract manager for the county-wide active transportation plan.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
Hi, Ken. My name is
Hi.
Arnica McCarthy. I'm a senior environmental planner here from Caltrans. And Hannah Minderhout is also on the call. She is associate environmental planner for Jacobs, but we're here with Greg we have a very brief introduction to a project. And so we're here for the environmental side of it.
Good. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. Is anybody else that I did not get?
Yeah, I'm Senator Schweiting in Sebastopol with Mike Sebastopol.
Good. Well, very welcome very much, Zeno. Okay. Anybody?
Sorry, Emily Sharton. I'm here from the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition.
Good. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks.
I'm Rick Coates. I'm from the nonprofit Eco Ring.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining, Rick. What is Eco Ring? Just quickly.
We promote ecotourism and green travel. We're trying to get people out of their automobiles when they travel.
Good for you.
By bicycle, by things like that.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, with that, so Dana, did we get Steve? Was it Steve leading this?
I do not see
Okay.
Stephen Smith on the screen, so.
Sneaky guy. Okay, all right. Well, you got me till he joins then. All right, so approval of the meeting notes from November 22nd. I took a quick look through them. I didn't see anything there that looked egregious. So if somebody could provide a motion in a second, we can approve those.
This is JP. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, JP. A second.
I can second. Mona from Town of Windsor.
Thank you very much, Mona. Okay. All right, with that, we'll open it up to public comment. So, and Dana, let me know if there's anything here that we don't do. So I'm just kind of rolling with it.
You're doing great.
Okay, thank you. All right, yeah. Anybody got any public comment?
Dino has his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very disturbed. We have 4 pedestrian deaths in the last 2 months. And we have this Vision Zero. And it's not on the calendar here at this meeting. How can we do better? Is there like a team rushing out to these sites to analyze infrastructure and how to improve these locations? I noticed in my own area, I live in Sebastopol, and regularly bike to Forestville, that the bike trail, when it passes by Occidental, is improved, not ideally, but the speed limit is still 50 miles an hour right along the bike trail. Speed limit is one of the elements that have been identified in Vision Zero as being important. I know that Supervisor Gorin has been very upset with the accidents that have happened along in the town of Sonoma. Very recently, somebody died there crossing the highway there, and at the same location or about, somebody else died or got severely injured very recently. I feel that this needs a more focused response of the Vision Zero team. I looked at the document and it was not clear to me how the citizen can contact the Vision system. So is there a point person here that we can contact, we can discuss things with? I'd like to have some kind of response from somebody. I know these are Caltrans roads, but there was also one in Pengrove. There was one in the town of Hillsborough, or in the town of Petaluma, 2 in the last 2 months. 2 deaths, pedestrian deaths in the town of Hillsborough, or Petaluma. So what is being done about this? Has this created attention in the mobility staff community? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Zeno, and I definitely hear you on that. And you know, we're all in our roles, you know, working for the various cities, you know, trying to do the best that we can to implement so we don't have the severe crashes and we don't have those. So it's thank you. So, is there anybody else in public comment? Let's see, any hands raised? Okay, so we're going to move on here to administration and election of officers. So, and I assume it's just chair and vice chair. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So the first meeting of every year, we elect the chair and vice chair. And if you'd like me to go ahead and run through that, I can do that.
I'd appreciate it.
Great. So yeah, at this meeting, we would like to elect the chair and vice chair for the year for 2023. This committee, we have 6 scheduled meetings per year. We sometimes hold a special meeting or may cancel a meeting, but there are 6 scheduled meetings. In 2022, Stephen Schmitz from Sonoma County Transit was chair, and Ken Eichstadt from City of Petaluma was vice chair. And so with that, I would like to start with the chair position and take nominations for serving as chair for 2023. You can nominate yourself or a fellow committee member. Edie, have your hand up? But you're on mute.
Like to nominate Ken Eichstadt for chair.
Okay, I was going to nominate Edie. She beat me to it. So, all right. Okay.
I mean, you know, vice chair now, so you're rolling right along, doing a good job. So thank you.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any other nominations for chair? All right. Ken,
Yeah.
would you like to accept that nomination?
That sounds fine. Yeah, we've got an important group and a lot of important work to do. So thank you very much, Edie.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and take a vote on chair, and then we'll do vice chair. All right. All right. So all those in favor of Ken Eichstadt being chair for 2023. I guess we may not need a roll call, but all right, great. And do we have any opposition? All right, seeing or hearing none. Thank you, Ken, for serving as chair. I'll be checking in with you on agendas before the meetings. And
okay, thank you very much. I look forward to a really good year and taking care of all the important things before us. And you know, the Vision Zero is very important, and how can we all collaboratively work together to address that? So thank you.
thank you. All right, so next, let's take nominations for the position of vice chair. So this role generally just serves as backup to the chair position if the chair is not available to conduct a meeting.
I nominate Edie for vice chair.
Yeah, and you're not quick enough on the draw. Thanks, Mona. I'll accept.
And do we have any other nominations? All right. So all those in favor of Edie Takata being vice chair for 2023? Good. raise your virtual or physical hand. Right, any opposed? Great, all right. That looks like it passes. Thank you, Edie, and thank you, Ken.
Yep. Okay, so the CBPAC member confirmation, I don't know, did we just want to get confirmation of the members of the various entities in the county then? Is that?
Yeah, so we would like to do this because you know, what we will actually go over in the next item is the changes to the Brown Act. We want to make sure that we have the names of the correct names of all the members for this committee listed, and we would also like to make sure that we have alternates listed as well, in case there are times where the primary member is not able to be at a meeting in person and we have things to vote on. We want to make sure that we count an alternate who is available at a meeting, able to attend. So if everyone could just review this list and contact me with any changes, that would be great. We don't need to go through all of them here at this meeting today, but.
Good, okay. And then regarding Brown Act, was there anything specific?
I have a public comment.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure we take a public comment on this typically, but why don't, what is that, Zeno?
Well, according to the meeting package, each city can also appoint a citizens representative. And this committee, as far as I can see, has none. So I wonder why that is.
Okay.
Are the cities not aware of this? Are the cities not interested? It seems, especially since this year will be an update of the bicycle plan, that input from citizens in these different jurisdictions, especially the one that update the bicycle plan, would be helped by having a representative on this commission. So I'm very surprised. I wasn't even aware of this. But if the package is correct, I feel we need to reach out to the cities to make it clear that they can send a representative of the public.
Why don't we do this, Zeno? Why don't we take this? Can you, if you go to the City of Petaluma webpage, put in my name, my email address will come up. Send me an email, and let's go ahead and make sure that it sounds like a good idea, and let's take care of it through that forum. So thank you.
Yeah, if I could, through the chair, I'd just like to add that there are, we do have at least one citizen representative, maybe two. They may not be listed as citizen representatives on the list that's in front of you in your agenda packet for members. However, I'm just pulling up a different list I have, and we do have a few citizen members that, you know, some of them have joined the meetings recently, some may not have for a while, but I do think I agree that making sure that all of the jurisdictions are aware that they can appoint a citizen representative is it's good to bring up. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and let me ask Dana, how do we get this list updated? How do you want us to just send each of us, you know, send in our you know, member and our alternate member then?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
Okay.
just go ahead and send an email.
And if you know, I'm just going to make a suggestion. We should probably have email, and it'd be great to have a phone number. It'd just be good to have a contact list that we can reference, a suggestion. So, okay.
Okay, great.
Great. All right, so, all right,
I have a question on that.
yeah, JP.
Dana, if we had a citizen representative, would they be the alternate in this case? Or would we have an alternate and a citizen representative, so 3 members?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if that's clear in the bylaws. That's something I would need to look into. My sense is that you can do both.
Okay, all right, I'll follow up with you on that.
Okay.
Because I will reach out to Kasadi citizens and see if there's someone that wants to join.
Yeah, I appreciate that
committee.
question. What the person that I have here is a citizen representative. And I do appreciate, you bringing that up, because it's been a little bit since we've reminded our committee about the representation. Tim has attended some of these, but now going through this, JP, is a good question. Was it alternate for our staff and who we have for our citizen rep? So I will probably send both, Dana, and give you all of that information. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's good question. I'm glad we're getting there. Dana, I'm gonna need to get the bylaws, or you could send me a link to them. So just to make sure we're updated on that. I'm updated on it, so. All right, and then we've got an item here, 4.4 SCTA, RCPA committee meeting dates. So that.
Yeah, so that's just for your information. That's all of the scheduled committee meeting dates and board meeting dates for SCTA and RCPA meetings.
Okay.
And if I could just touch on the Brown Act updates as well.
Yes, please.
Great. So I'm sure most of you are aware or have heard this through other committees, but the end of February marks the end of the state's exemptions to the Brown Act due to COVID-19. And so we will be starting in-person meetings starting on March 1st. And there are some requirements and special circumstances where committee members may be able to participate virtually. But it's a little complicated, and there's various requirements around posting notices for attending virtually. We will be providing a virtual option for members of the public that will continue, but we are asking for members of committees to participate in person.
Yeah, it looks a little vague. So there's AB 2449. It says that a member may only teleconference for a limited number of meetings. Limited number. It's a little vague, but okay. Well, we're really good at rolling with it. We can go through pandemics and all sorts of things. So we'll figure out where this all lands. Being able to do things remotely is definitely, and particularly when we're wanting to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and such, we shouldn't necessarily be having to drive around, and we can't necessarily bike everywhere that we'd like to. So, but okay. Are you expecting, is SCTA expecting that there will be more input on this? Is this kind of what I'm hearing on my end at the city? Is it's still, everything's it's very fluid. It's kind of in transition, and we're not sure where everything is going to end up, but we are going back in March to in person. So
yeah, we do plan to start holding all of our meetings in person in March, and we'll stay tuned if there's any changes from the state.
Good. Okay. All right, and then we've covered the meetings for SCTA, RCPA. And I'll just say on that, it's good for us to, if there's anything that SCTA is doing as a board to, related to bike ped transit, that we have some understanding of that in these meetings, because what happens is the council member that, in the case of Petaluma, monitors it, and if something happened there and we don't know about it, I don't know about it, they will ask. So yeah, it's good to know, have a finger on the pulse of what's going on with that. So all right, now we have a presentation, and this is State Route 1 Centerline Rumble Strip project, and Caltrans District 4 representatives. So, and with that, I'll kick it off to Caltrans. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Greg Curry. I am the Pedestrian and Bicycle Branch Chief at Caltrans District 4, Caltrans Bay Area. Also, I have been told lately that my speaker doesn't pick up my voice very well. So yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. If it starts to get bad, please feel free to interrupt me and let me know. So yeah, thank you very much for to the committee and to Dana specifically for finding time in your agenda for me to do this quick presentation. You've met some of the folks from the project team, Arnica McCarthy and Hannah Minderhout from the environmental side, and then I am in planning. I also have from my team Amber Moran, who is in the planning team as well, and handles projects in Sonoma and Napa counties. Let me share my screen. And while I'm doing that, I do want to acknowledge, the public comment earlier mentioned Vision Zero and some fatalities. And I want to acknowledge that at least one of those recent fatalities was on Caltrans right-of-way. It was State Route 12 and Verano Avenue. And so I share that concern about that. I'm sure that's on a lot of our minds. And I don't currently have any more information than I think you all do, but it's something that I definitely hope that we see some improvements there and see a fix. But please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or ideas on that. But I will get right to it with the presentation now. So yeah, I'm here to talk about a project on. Oh,
Greg, sorry to interrupt you, but we're seeing your presentation notes slide. So under display settings on your top left, there should be a section that says swap presenter and view. That button right there. There we go.
Did it work? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
We're all clear now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you probably then saw that my notes are going to have me introduce myself as Hannah Minderhout, which I'm not. But yeah, so thank you. This is about the State Route 1 project to install Centerline rumble strips in Sonoma County. It is the entire length of State Route 1 within the county. So from the Marin County line to the Mendocino County line, although it won't be entirely Centerline rumble strips for the whole segment. I'll get into that in a minute. So just quickly, what am I doing here? Why am I talking to you all? We have this project that's currently, there's a draft environmental document. We've got a public review period that began a week ago, January 17th, and it ends February 15th. So you've got about 3 more weeks to comment on, anything that you see in the environmental document, any changes that you think should be made, or any additional information that Caltrans should have to make this a more complete document. Please feel free to send those comments our way. I'll give you some contact information at the end. But also, I just want to hear, if there are any initial comments or things that we should consider, regardless of whether those go in the environmental document or not. So looking for all kinds of input. So let me give some details about the project. As I said, it's along State Route 1 in Sonoma County, from post mile 0.0 to 58.58. So you can see that's the whole stretch there. And purpose and need. So purpose of the project is to reduce the number and severity of head-on, cross centerline, and runoff collisions, as well as provide refuge areas or pullouts for bicyclists to use, presumably when being passed by motorists, although there are a couple other reasons why a bicyclist may want to use those, and I'll get into that in a minute if you don't already have those in mind. I'm not going to read the need to you, but basically, you know, in safety monitoring the program, we've identified that there have been several head-on collisions, and there are also high fatalities, or there are fatalities from run-off-the-road collisions that meet the threshold for us to take action. So it's primarily about motorist safety, but we understand, you know, bicyclists can and do use the roadway, and we want to make sure that ideally we're making things better, but at the very, very minimum, we're not making things any worse. So these are the discontinuous segments where centerline rumble strips are being installed. You may not have a frame of reference for this, but these are the post mile limits. So you can see they're pretty extensive, but they don't include the entire corridor, although they do include most. There's only a couple segments where they're not being installed, but also these are the general project segments. And so there will also be, you know, for example, they're not going to be installed through intersections. They are not going to be installed at pedestrian crossings, cattle guards, commercial or town centers, or left turn lane openings. And also they will not be installed where the speed limit is equal to or less than 35 miles an hour. So these are the general segments, but there are individual conditions that will be used to determine where those rumble strips will be installed. And then I want to emphasize that they are centerline rumble strips, so they're not the kind of strips that can be challenging for biking, you know, the shoulder line ones. So they shouldn't impede a bicyclist's ability to, where there is a shoulder, move in and out of that shoulder. Another thing that the project is doing is widening the shoulders to 6 feet at 50 spot locations. So it's not continuous shoulders, you know, they're not going to be like a usable segments that would act as bike lanes, but they are specific areas where, as mentioned earlier, bicyclists can pull out of traffic if they, you know, they're uncomfortable because of a queue of motorists following them, or you know, for whatever reason, if you've made it a long way and you're tired and want to take a rest for a minute, or whatever it takes. So yeah, it's certainly not a you know, we're not creating the I guess ideal bikeway here, but definitely specific kind of spot improvements for bicyclists to use while traveling along the corridor. So this is a cross section. Sorry, okay, maybe that was just audio feedback. So cross section here just breaks down what I said, centerline rumble strips there with some 6-foot shoulders. This is our schedule. So we are in the first quarter of a public review period. We're expecting a final environmental document in March. And then construction will begin it's expected to begin in early January of 2025. And it'll wrap up, it's anticipated to wrap up in end of the year 2026. So where can you find this full environmental document? We have a link here. You also, if you like the analog version, you can go in person to the Sonoma County Regional Library, or the Guerneville Regional Library, or the Cotati Regional Library. And if you have questions or comments, well, specifically comments on the environmental document, I would recommend that they be sent either to this email address that's listed here, or you can send them through postal mail if you prefer, to Arnica McCarthy, and her address is right here. You know, if you've just got questions about the project, I know sometimes you want a question to be answered before you're really able to comment on the environmental document. And so feel free to, actually, kind of silly of me, I didn't put my contact information here, but I'll enter it in the chat. Feel free to send me an email, and I can either answer the question or make sure it gets to the right person, so that we can try and get a prompt response to you. I'll say right now, my email is gregory.curry, currey, @dot.ca.gov. but I will write that down because that's probably hard to catch, saying it quickly as I am. So that is that's my quick presentation. If there is time for questions or comments, I'm glad to take some, but if we've got to move on, I understand. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Greg. I'm a little concerned, and I'd like to have questions on this because it's a really important topic, and but we could be here for a long time, and unfortunately, I can't really do that. But let's. I don't know, Dana, do you have a recommendation on this? How has this been handled in the past?
Yeah, I think we could, take 5 to 10 minutes for comments.
Yeah, why don't we do that? I think it's important. So, all right, no, I'm gonna, if you could raise your hand, your virtual hand, and trying to think, I don't know if I can see people's hands on this, Dana. I'm not.
Okay, it may be your view, but I'm happy to call out the
Yeah.
hands that I see raised.
Why don't you do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see JP Harry's hand is raised.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to put the rumble strips down the center line, but I do, in a previous life, we did this in Nevada, and I got a lot of noise complaints, and I'm curious how that's going to be addressed in the document. And then related to that, because this is pedestrian and bicycle, how does that affect the stress level of a biker when they encounter, that large rumble noise from the cars that will be passing them?
Yeah, a key thing that I should have mentioned and didn't was that for this project, we are planning to install a type of rumble strips called mumble strips. And the idea behind those is that, and it's been studied, but they do produce less noise. So that it should be a quieter experience. It'll still make noise, I believe. And I don't know if Arnica or Hannah, if you have any specific details on that you want to share, but I can also just say, yeah, I do hear the potential for, audio impacts for bicyclists being startled by that, but hopefully the lower volume mumble strips will help with that.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead, Greg. I don't see anybody else's hands up here, but just a couple items. One is, with regard to, I'm hoping that the guideline is also going to be, if I'm not sure if you're restriping the road and the guideline is going to be part of it, but one of the things that is just an easy thing to get a little bit more room at the edge on our roads is, even if it's just 6 inches, it helps. And moving the guideline, making the lanes 10 feet or 10.5 feet. Don't just put them back at 11 or 12 feet, but try to narrow the lanes and get a little bit of space to the right of the guideline. It's a huge benefit to cyclists. So there's that. And then I'm not sure with regard to the passing areas, the 50 passing areas that you'd mentioned, but I'm not sure the length of those. But as much length as you can get, because the problems on the ones that I've been on southbound Highway 1 from Tamaulipas is that you have to really slow down. And as a cyclist, you're always thinking about momentum and keeping moving and just making sure that they're put in places that are appropriate. Obviously not on, I don't think this would happen, but not on a downhill. If there's places where there's a slight uphill or uphill and good sight lines would benefit. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And I'll say quickly, I don't think it depends on what the existing lane widths are, but probably as part of this project if we're going to narrow lanes below standard, it probably can't happen as part of this project, just because of the purpose and need. But I can look into that. There may be some spaces where it's wider than standard, and maybe we can narrow it.
Yeah, thank you. I just saw your cross section had 10 to 12, and I know a lot of the rural roads are very narrow. But we've had really good success, and I've talked to a number of municipalities where we've been narrowing lanes 10 and a half feet, and it just gives that room on the outside there that makes it easier to bike on, and just makes it a more a safer experience for the other users besides the motor vehicles. So thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, Elizabeth Tyree with Sonoma County Regional Parks. My hand raised, it's hard to see because it's right in front of the logo. So Greg, appreciate your presentation. We in Regional Parks will be looking at the online information. In Sonoma County, the Regional Parks Department is lead on creating Class 1 trails. We have implemented some segments of Class 1 trails paralleling Highway 1, and some are in the planning stage, so we'll look at the intersect with those. And I also want to say I strongly support Ken's comments where there's opportunity, especially for having a wee bit of shoulder on uphill areas, because there's, as you know, there's a whole lot of pinch points and very narrow stretches of roadway where the fog line is right adjacent to the edge of the pavement. So I'm encouraged by this and look forward to seeing more detailed information about the plan. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. And I don't see any other comments here or any more hands raised. So
Ken,
yeah.
This is Arnica.
Okay.
Can I just say something to Elizabeth real quick?
Yes, please.
That I've worked with Ken Tam and Steve Barrett pretty regularly. So if they have any additional questions, they can either reach out to Greg or myself directly.
Good.
Thank you, Arnica.
Thanks. Okay, we'll close that item.
I do see Emily Sheraton from SCBC.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if we were going for
Public comments or not. Is now an okay time?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, I think just following on kind of what, both you, Ken, and Elizabeth have said, I know, and Greg, you mentioned this is not creating the ideal bikeway. I'm wondering, if these 50 pullouts, if they are considered sort of a first step toward creating some kind of a continuous shoulder on this stretch. Ideally a continuous bike lane, but at the very least, as there are some areas of Highway 1 that have nothing. And I don't know if, this is kind of considered, again, a first step towards something, more continuous that's going to benefit cyclists, or, kind of what the thinking is there.
Yeah, so we don't have, nothing official. There's not like a phase 2 project to install full shoulders here. I personally see it as a potential first step, but we haven't identified a project or any funding for that would add that in as a next step. I imagine that there are various environmental challenges along the corridor for any kind of widening, but there's always environmental challenges to anything, so I don't think that would necessarily be insurmountable.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Greg and Arnica and I guess Hannah. Appreciate your presentation, and thanks for putting your contact in the chat there.
Thank you.
With that, I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the funding for climate change, transportation past and current plans. So who is leading that discussion?
I think I am. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. This is Tanya from the RCPA. And I think I'd like to share just 2 slides for some context before we dive into the discussion, if that's okay. So I think most of you, I hope, have heard at least something about our funding for climate change effort, but I wanted to give a little background in case not everyone is. So our board formed an ad hoc, was over a year ago, to explore different ways to raise additional funding for climate change. So we all, have plans and projects that we know are important and necessary to fight the climate crisis. But we do not have the funding to implement them. And so our board recognized that we have a real need to identify some new local funding sources. And to make a long story short, essentially decided that it was time to go out to the community and get some more input around the types of projects and climate solutions that the community would be interested in seeing funded. And so RCPA staff formed this funding for climate change structure, which is led by a community led steering committee and has 3 subcommittees or program committees that are focused on the main areas that we see impacting our local climate plans. And so those are transportation, obviously, which is about 60% of our greenhouse gas emissions, our buildings, and then what we're calling land and water, which is really around our ecosystem services and sequestration to offset the carbon emissions that we're not able to eliminate by our goal of basically reaching carbon neutral by 2030. So we have recently launched this new structure actually in mid-December at a public meeting, and we have meetings of each of these program committees will start up in early February. We've also formed a government partners committee, which is has the purpose of providing input and guidance to these committees to make sure that we're really aligning the recommendations that are coming out of the program committees with what all of you have been working on and know is needed in your individual communities. And so we also have this environmental justice advisors role that we feel is critical to ensure that equity and environmental justice considerations are integrated into everything that these committees are working on. And the ultimate goal is to have a set of recommendations for community climate priorities that would go to our board, the RCPA board, by the end of 2023. And then our board will be making a decision about the option or options that are pursued for funding, which could be things like a sales tax measure, other types of local taxes, and other revenue mechanisms. So that hasn't been decided yet. So then in terms of, my next slide here, just the overall timeline. So I mentioned by the end of 2023, we want to have the program committees and the steering committee present a set of recommendations to our board, and then the board will take those inputs along with other inputs that they'll be receiving over the next year and make a determination in terms of basically what the expenditure plan would be for the funding measure. And so what I wanted to talk with all of you about today is we're wanting to provide the program committees with a good overview of existing plans and projects and priorities of each of the jurisdictions in the different areas. And so we met with the transit committee a week or two ago to get their transit priorities and ideas and make sure we have a good understanding of all the existing plans, and thought we should do the same thing with the bike ped committee and get your inputs. Now, I recognize that you all have your bike ped master plans and a number of different projects that you're working on and wanting to have funded. Those projects will also be eligible for funding under the Go Sonoma measure. But I'm really just here today to get your inputs and thoughts around kind of current or upcoming projects or priorities that you think these program committees should be aware of. And if there's anything on your wish list, if you will, of projects that you'd like to see funded or priorities that you see coming in the future, would love to capture those as well. And this, of course, won't be the only time that we'll be reaching out to you, all along this timeline that I shared. We want to make sure that we stay well connected with the work that all of you are doing. So I'm going to just pop 3 questions into the chat and invite folks to share any thoughts or ideas that you have. I should also mention that we do have a list of kind of existing plans, like our countywide bike ped master plan. We have the Vision Zero plan and the action plans that the jurisdictions are working on related to that. So we have started an inventory of those plans. And my question here today is really, are there certain projects or things that are in those plans that you would really want us to highlight to the Transportation Committee as they start their work? Dana, would you add anything based on, Dana's also going to be very involved in this project.
No, I think you've covered that well. Thank you, Tanya.
All right.
Okay, so Tanya, should we, just copy those questions down and send you an email individually here with, what? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. If you have thoughts you want to throw in the chat now, if there's any discussion now, that would be fine as well. So.
Okay.
But yeah, I realize you have more time to think about it if you could respond in email. So.
Yeah, I think it would be better just to give you a little bit more thoughtful answers on it. So I don't see any. Are there any questions or anything? Okay, Edie. Took your hand down. Did you have a question?
And it may be that I blipped out for a second and I wasn't sure, but can you clarify? So is there, because I heard measure, so do we already know that it's likely that it will be like a measure M for, or measure DD for climate change? Is that a decision that's made already, or it's just the likely avenue and you're using this input to shape what that measure would look like?
Yeah, so there has not been a decision made on what type of revenue measure, and yes, sales tax is probably the most obvious one and the one that we know would raise a lot of money, but also looking at other types of revenue measures, because we have received feedback from the community, concerns about the regressive nature of sales taxes and wanting to make sure that we're at least looking at other options before a decision is made. And that's a decision that our board will be making. I don't know exactly when, but that still needs to be decided.
Okay, thanks. That helps me understand.
Okay. So to be clear, Tanya, then on the funding aspect, then the information that you get from this in collecting this, it could be some, countywide measure to bring, money into climate action type projects. Then is that?
Yes. Our goal is to have something that would be countywide for sure. Okay.
All right. On a procedural item here, so I just see some of the comments in the chat here that they can't save it. I'm trying to figure out the best way of getting these questions. You know what I'm going to say here, Zeno, Christina, just email me and I'll send you. I've got the questions here. Oh, I realize you can't. No, I can't even do that. I had to.
Can't copy and paste.
Can't copy and paste.
Yeah.
No,
we
you
can
can't.
send those. We can send those questions out to the distribution list.
Yeah.
After the meeting.
I'll also have them as part of the committee meeting notes as well. I know that those meeting notes will be out 2 months later, but I will have those downloaded and ready. So yes, you can't copy and paste because I think that is a Zoom feature, not me. But I will download this and I will get everyone what they need.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, JP, or no, you took your hand down. Boy, people are quick. No, your hand is up.
No, you caught it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Not really a great feature if you can't copy out of there. That's mildly frustrating. Jeez. Okay. Well, if there isn't anything else with regard to that item, we thank you very much, Tanya.
Thank you. And I'll put my contact information in the chat as well.
Good. All right. Moving on here, we have, looks like the countywide active transportation plan update, procurement and existing facilities. So
Great. So I'll provide an update on that. So we are in procurement now for a consultant to work on the countywide active transportation plan update. We released the request for proposals on Friday. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to that in the chat in case anybody wants to share it, has any great active transportation planning consulting firms they've worked with before that they would like to share it with, we would appreciate that. We are looking to, our aim is to be under contract with a firm to work on this plan, starting at our April board meeting. So, and to kick off the project immediately after that. So in the meantime, we are working on existing conditions summary report that we'll be providing to the consulting team to incorporate into the plan. And one piece of that is the existing facilities map that we've been working on over the past several months. We've received input from most of the jurisdictions on that. We are still waiting for updates to existing bicycle facilities from Petaluma. I know that you were waiting for you all to wrap up that element of the plan you're working on. And we still need that information from Rohnert Park as well. So this is countywide information that we are updating, regardless of whether your jurisdiction will be part of the local plan update through this process. We would like to have a existing facilities, up-to-date existing facilities map for the entire county. So that's all. Those are all the updates I have right now. At our next meeting in late March, I expect to have some more information to talk to you all about the existing conditions, kind of summary memo, and then after that, we will be using quite a bit of time in the CBPAC meetings to discuss this plan and facilitate the process.
Okay, I have a question on it. Is there, in getting to the countywide plan and into the procurement of a consultant, is there a significant GIS element of this so that we can get, all the different plans kind of intermeshed? So I'm just curious if that was part of this process.
Yeah, we have, as we have in the past, we will keep our GIS maps of both existing and planned facilities up to date, countywide. So for the city of Petaluma, since you're updating your active transportation plan right now, once you have those GIS files ready, you can send them to us and we will incorporate that into the countywide map.
Okay. Good. Yeah. I think the more seamless we can get the various municipalities in on the county plan, the easier it'll be for people to come up here and travel around and do it in a environmentally friendly way. Hopefully on their bike, walking, and taking transit. So good. Okay. Any questions on that item?
I see Zeno's hand is up.
Yeah, I wonder whether Vision Zero can be more explicitly incorporated in request for proposals.
Oh, in the request for proposals. Vision Zero is definitely going to be a large consideration in this plan, and we definitely plan to use the information gathered as well as the action plan to inform the countywide bicycle and pedestrian or countywide active transportation plan. It should be called out in the scope in the request for proposals, but it's definitely in our work plan.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else on that item, then we'd move on to the funding portion here. So Cycle 6, Santa Rosa. They did very well. So I don't know. Are you gonna run this here, Dana, this portion, or how do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure everybody had this information for the cycle 6 regional component. I know that we shared the statewide recommendations at our last meeting. And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody had this information. Healdsburg was recommended for their Healdsburg Avenue Complete Streets project through the regional program. And I just wanted to open it up for discussion as well for anybody who's applied and did or did not get funded, or had anything that they wanted to discuss about this process.
Yeah. I'll just start. You know, we're going to get a debrief from MTC. We put forward the River Trail, which is a key linkage on the southern part of Petaluma to get from downtown transit center over to the residential area and business park, and you know, we were 73 points or something. And we had a consultant work on it this time, and it still didn't get us any further along. So I do feel like we need to, you know, as a county-wide, sort of up our game and how we move these things forward. So I'll try to make sure either myself or Bjorn reports back on what we learned from MTC and how to make our, you know, grants more competitive. So that's all I have on that. Are there any committee members that have any questions on this?
Do you have any information about why you scored so low? Was it like disadvantaged community stuff, or like engagement of the community, or what was the main factor?
Well, that's one aspect of it. We don't have, you know, the disadvantaged communities. And I wish there was. This is the third time, and we just haven't upped it at all. And I feel like it's a key linkage for this community. It's, you know, we've got real serious crash issues, fatality issues, and we've you know, struggled with it. To me, it's a showcase project, but it just, you know, somehow Santa Cruz got all this money for a Class 1 facility, and a lot of money, and I don't know. I'm not sure what the magic recipe is to be able to get it in. But you know, again, as a group here, I'm hoping we can share information and really, you know, up our game to move these forward. You know, so okay, I see Zeno.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Don't see anything else. Thank you, Dana. All right. So the next item here is the TDA Article 3 estimates. So.
Yeah. So you know, recently we've been doing a preliminary call for projects with estimates for the upcoming fiscal year program, because I know that a number of jurisdictions need some extra lead time to get to their bicycle advisory boards or to their councils or boards to adopt a program. So, or approve a project. So there's basically all the information that will be in the call for projects in the memo in your packet, but the new funding available this cycle, those are estimates, but you can certainly use that information to start working on a project application. Let's see, we anticipate getting the actual call for projects out probably around mid-February. And we'll be taking that, let's see, asking for applications mid-March. And then, if any of the jurisdictions need to schedule their board meetings after that date, we could take the resolutions after the application submittal. So we could take those resolutions up until April 24th. So there is some time to get those scheduled. If you do plan to apply, I advise that you start looking at scheduling those items with your boards or councils. There's links in the memo to the application and model resolution. And I'm happy to take any questions anybody might have on this.
I don't see any hands up. So. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dana. No questions, that's a good thing. So, okay, so moving on, quarterly report for TDA 3 TFCA.
Yeah, this is just for your information. The first page of this report lists the active projects under the TDA 3 program. And then the second page lists the active projects under the TFCA, or Transportation Fund for Clean Air program. So just take a look at those. And if you have any questions on your projects, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then we've got Safe Streets for All. So this is a regional application.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I can go ahead and
Hey,
provide
Chris.
an update on this. And good afternoon, good seeing everyone today. And Zeno, thank you for reminding us about Vision Zero and the importance of safety. So as most of you already know, there's a federal grant program called the Safe Streets and Roads for All program that was established as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law that's put a lot of money on the table to help reduce roadway deaths and serious injuries. So there are 5 different planning cycles, $5 billion in total. Since we have a Vision Zero action plan and a number of local road safety plans here in Sonoma County, we're eligible to tap into this funding and to start implementing projects that are tied to the action plan and the local road safety plans. So just a little bit of information about the grant program. Jurisdictions, state agencies, other agencies are all potential recipients of this. And so SCTA would like to try and get together a combined grant application for this fall to work on implementing a lot of the recommendations that are in the Vision Zero action plan. So I'm going to try and share my screen. I have a few slides that provide a little bit of information about what we're thinking right now. So let me get this up here. So right now we're shooting for a countywide joint application that'll go out this fall. Last cycle, the applications were due in September, so we're expecting a similar time frame this year. The grant could fund capital projects and also supplemental planning. But all of the project ideas really need to be tied to the Vision Zero action plan, local road safety plans, the high injury networks, high injury intersections in those documents. And we'd be looking at us, SCTA, helping with grant administration, and then having contracts with each of the entities that were putting projects forward. So as far as the cap or the amount of the grant, the max is $30 million for one of these implementation grants. or 50 for a joint application, which we'd be looking at. There is a 20% match required, so just keep that in mind. And then after obligation, we'd be looking at 5 years to complete those projects. So we're really looking at projects that could be completed relatively quickly. So looking at a few ideas that we've had so far, and these on this slide here, you can see they're tied to different recommendations from the Vision Zero Action Plan. Capital projects are certainly eligible as long as they're tied to those high injury networks and where there are safety issues and problems. Safe routes to schools is also featured in the Vision Zero Action Plan, and there's a lot of opportunity to expand on what we're doing here in the county and support our Safe Routes to School program. And one thing that we're interested in, and also the Bike Coalition are interested in, is developing some safe routes to school local area plans, so at the jurisdiction level. So would love to hear if any of you are interested in partnering on projects like that. Data collection and additional planning is also eligible. Things like permanent bicycle and pedestrian counters at different locations, sidewalk and road crossing inventories, and looking at gaps in different non-motorized systems, and also improving on the Vision Zero data dashboard that we have up. So those are all things that could be funded by this combined grant. We've done a lot with the data dashboard, and also including a lot of recommendations in the plan itself. And we'd like to help automate some of the reporting on how we're doing. So I know that one of the main recommendations in the Vision Zero Action Plan is to report out on annual progress. So there are a number of ways that we can help automate that and make it easier for you all to do that. One of the a number of actions in the plan really are focused on speed limit review and potential reductions. So funding could certainly be used to analyze that and look at that. And then safety marketing campaigns could also be funded by this. But as far as timeline, we're looking at submitting a grant this fall. We'll be discussing this at the Vision Zero Advisory Committee in February and the Technical Advisory Committee in March. So over the next 2 or 3 months, we'll really be looking at identifying some of the projects that you as our partners would like to see happen and include in the combined grant, and then work on assembling our grant materials for submission in the fall. So really would love to hear any feedback from the group and answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. I'll just start out. Have we been successful on this grant in prior applications?
SCTA didn't apply last September. That was the first round. So there'll be another 4 rounds going forward. I did see Rob on here. I believe the city of Santa Rosa did apply the first cycle, but I don't believe awards have been announced yet.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Hey, Rob, thanks. Well, I'm just, I'm trying to, were you envisioning, Chris, sort of a toolbox of, options and that we would, go after a grant, linked to the LRSP, linked to Safe Routes to Schools, speed feedback signs, RRFBs, HAWKs, different things. And we, in the county, go ahead and implement a range of safety elements at locations that have been identified, through the LRSP or other means. Is that kind of how you're thinking of running this?
That would definitely be something that could be included, but individual capital projects on the ground as well. If there's something that you think could address some issues that are identified in the plan or your local road safety plans that could be included in the combined application, that's something we could include in there as well. So
Okay.
we're looking at having kind of an umbrella type application to include projects that address all sorts of these actions identified in the plan. So if there's something that's important to you or your jurisdiction, please reach out to us and let's talk about getting more details about that.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions on this? Christina.
I don't have a question, but I just want to put a plug in for jurisdictions seriously considering doing a safe routes to school plan. We have a lot of data, a lot of maps that could be incorporated into a plan, and engaging the school community is really hard if there isn't a reason for them to become engaged. And when you give them a reason, that, you know, doing a plan for the school, identifying projects, identifying what routes they would need to take if they want, you know, what routes would help them choose to walk and bike to school. Like knowing that, hearing that from parents is something that it's hard to get to them unless we're engaging them on a school related project. So just putting in a plug for that.
Chris, are you thinking of monies for both, you know, planning, design, and construction, the full gamut, or what were you?
Yeah, as long as we can make sure that they're eligible. So we can work with our projects team and project delivery team over here to answer those questions. So yeah, please send us your project ideas, including all of those different phases, and we can work with David and Shauna to, you know, make sure that we think that they can fit.
Okay. Good. If there's no questions, we'll move on. I don't see any. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate the update. Okay. We've got Caltrans is hosting a grand open house. This is Monday, the 23rd. That was yesterday. So we got that. We've got Caltrans Sustainable Planning Grant. Applications due March 9th. Does anybody have any input on that, or you know, questions for SCTA or anything that
Ken, if I could just provide a little information about those grant programs. There's a really big infusion on climate adaptation money in the Caltrans cycle, and also a grant program from OPR this time around. And, you know, they've mentioned specifically emergency response and evacuation planning. So these grants could both be used for those sorts of efforts. And there's a lot of extra money out there this time around.
Okay, good info to have. Thank you. Okay, and then the OPR adaptation planning grant program. So intent survey, first phase of applications due March 31st. Is that in your wheelhouse, Chris?
The OPR grant, yeah, I just kind of mentioned it. It's very, very similar to the Caltrans planning grant. The one interesting thing about the grant program is there's no match required. So, which is pretty rare. So, it seems relatively flexible as long as you have a climate adaptation type project in mind.
Okay, good. Excellent. I don't see any hands raised. We'll move on to the roundtable, and we'll start at the north end. So, and just head to the south. So Cloverdale.
I don't think anyone's here from Cloverdale.
Okay. Healdsburg. Kurt.
Hey everyone, Kurt Bates, City of Healdsburg. I think that many of you know that our former staff rep, Ben Kageyama, he retired last December. We are in the process of hiring somebody, hopefully soon. And I'm hopeful that that person will be on board for the March meeting. So just a heads up there. And I don't have any other general updates for Healdsburg today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kurt. All right, moving south. I got to get my map out here. Windsor.
I don't really have anything new to report this time around, but in the second item that's going to come up about micromobility, we have had our bird scooter program that we had run last summer, and the biggest problem, we'd like to get them back on the streets, but we have had a problem getting any type of oh my gosh, I can't think of getting a person on board, like to work on these. And I guess they were going to share with Santa Rosa, because I think Santa Rosa also has the bird scooter program, and we're having problems onboarding someone to work the program with Bird. And I think Healdsburg contacted us also, because they started a Bird bicycle program, and it is also having a difficult time getting off the ground. And I just didn't know if anybody here had any suggestions of finding vendors to help or not, or have you heard of any other issues with Bird scooters and bikes?
And Mona, is this a vendor to be the local rebalancing mechanic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Charging, they have to store the bike. They have to charge them, put them back out on the streets. It's like a fleet. I guess it's a fleet manager.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's a fleet manager, and I don't know if anybody else in Sonoma County has had this issue, but we just can't find a local fleet manager.
We struggled with that in Santa Rosa as well. Right now, they have, I'm just looking at the app, about 25 scooters out of the 200 they're supposed to have out looks like in circulation. So I think they're still struggling with that on our end as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring it up, that it's just something to consider, how these mobility programs operate. And this is probably one of the biggest problems they have, is finding and keeping fleet managers.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Mona. Yeah, I'm not sure, what SMART is doing. Hopefully we can get an update on that when we get into the shared micromobility update. So I don't think we have the gentleman from City of Sebastopol. Is anybody from Sebastopol? Okay, if not, we'll move to Santa Rosa. I guess that's Rob. Are you?
Yeah, hi. I'll introduce myself. I'm Rob Strinkle, the Deputy Director for Traffic Engineering. I'm filling in for Nancy Adams, who is no longer with the city. So hello. And also here is Alexander Oseguera. He's our new active transportation planner. So he's the alternate, and I encouraged him to come today as well. There he is. So you might get both of us just to kind of keep some continuity each meeting. So, and I don't really have any updates for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Roanoke Park, Edie.
Yeah, real quick, starting construction this month, we have our Quick Strike Safe and Seamless Mobility funded project. And it was 12 locations where the bike path system crosses mid-block, the street network, and a Roanoke Park Expressway and Commerce Boulevard intersection, head refuge, and signal timing changes. So that's launching this month. We do know already that we are running into the supply chain issues for RFBs. So if anyone is in a hurry to get those, I hope ours are before your. No. Yeah. So lead time. Give yourself some lead time. I think I mentioned that in another meeting. We didn't realize that our encroachment permit with Caltrans expires in a year, which has expired. So we're back in Caltrans land to work on that for our refuge, head refuge, And yeah, we'll see how this goes. We're really excited about that ped refuge. That intersection is really very, very well used by peds, and it's very wide, and we could give them some help. Hopefully when we're doing the refuge, it'll be night work along with the timing changes. So that's what we've got, our big bike ped project this month. And that's pretty much all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much, Edie. JP, anything with Katati?
No, no updates from the last time. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Petaluma North McDowell is rolling. That's the big project that we have in construction. We're also going to have a couple of pavement projects moving out this year, primarily on connector roadways near schools is the focus. So we've got some wayfinding that should be, I'm trying to get it out to bid here in the next month, and also a traffic circle, permanent traffic circle implementation, and a sort of a standardized template for traffic circles. If anybody has any interest in that, I'm more than willing to share what I've learned and what we're doing on that realm. So, and hopefully next meeting, Bjorn will be here. There's a number of projects that he's also working on. So that's Petaluma. Does Smart have anything that they wanted to bring up here?
Sure, thank you. This is Zoe with Smart.
Hey, Zoe.
Hi, just one quick announcement that the pathway segment between Payran and Lakeville is under construction and slated for opening later this year.
And also we're going to have, the new Petaluma North Station should go into construction later this year, I believe. So yeah, it's exciting. Thank you. Tanya, anything in RCPA you wanted to bring on?
I don't think so.
Okay. And then open space, Elizabeth?
No updates today from regional parks. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, did I miss anybody? Anybody feeling left out?
Just a quick update I could give.
Thank you very much, Christina. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that we did finish the GIS maps and the fall evaluation data reports for all of our comprehensive schools. And so, there are 4 out of the 5 elementary schools in Roanoke Park, 7 schools in Petaluma, 22 schools in Santa Rosa, 1 in Healdsburg, 1 in Cloverdale. I may be missing a jurisdiction or 2, but Sebastopol 2, I think 3 or 4 schools in Sebastopol. So if any of you are interested in those reports, just let me know. I can send them to you. It lists out what the tally data is, how many students, walk, bike, carpool, bus. It has the GIS map data, kind of comparing that to how many kids live in the half-mile, 1 mile, and 2 mile radius of the school, and then how many kids walked on their walk and roll to school day, their big event in October, just to see kind of what the potential is, perhaps, for walking and biking. And yeah, so if anyone wants that, let me know. We don't have it posted to our website. Also, the maps themselves are always useful, and those I can send as a separate file for all the schools that we work with comprehensively.
Good. Thank you very much, Christina. It's always the school projects are really, really important, and I've found a lot of real benefit to working on those. And we got a number of sort of initial planning, some design moving forward on that end. So thanks. Okay, if nothing else on this here, we'll move on to micromobility. And I'm hoping, Dana, you might have some
Yes.
background on that.
So I could just give a brief update on the program that SCTA and the Transportation Authority of Marin are working on. We were given direction to reissue a request for proposals. We are making revisions to it from the previous RFP, allowing some more flexibility than we had in it, just kind of given the state of the micromobility industry. And so we expect to get that out next month. We been working on it, but it's not quite ready to go out yet. So more on that to come. I'm definitely interested to hear about what's been going on in Windsor and Santa Rosa and Healdsburg with the bird programs, and hope to kind of stay up to date on that information as we go through this process and consider some of those operational hurdles that have been going on.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, bike ped counters, that's in my court, and as soon as we get the weather changes, it is changed, but we're trying to get it implemented. It's just, you know, we have them and expect to be getting those counts hopefully within the next month. If anybody has a need for those, please ping me, and that'll kind of spur us to get that implemented. So, okay, all right. Any other business comments, announcements that anybody has? I guess not. So there we go. Thank you very much, Dana.
Thank you,
So,
Ken.
yeah. All right. If nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn here. And Happy New Year to everybody, and appreciate everyone's involvement in the good work we're doing. So,
Thanks, everyone.
all right. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.